Our experience of life is inherently spatial. We don't hear in terms of left and right, but rather we hear in terms of depth and height and distance and movement. And so, where stereo is a powerful and beautiful format, especially when it comes to music, it is ultimately a translation of a three-dimensional experience into two loudspeakers, where immersive audio allows us to present sound in a way that more closely reflects how we experience the world.
Yes, hello. Herzlich willkommen wieder bei GROBITV, unserem Heimkino-Kanal. I will speak in English a little bit because the following interview is done in English together with Justin Gray. This was my guest. Justin Gray is the Grammy Award winner for the Best Immersed album. It's called Immersed, this album. This is his album where he was working for more than 4 years, working together with 38 musicians, and it's available in Dolby Atmos and Auro 3D. And there is also a music video about the whole songs or without the whole songs on this disc, which is available from now here in our store. And I would think it was a fantastic interview because he told us a lot about his passion, about the plan to make this big project, and what is for him the benefit to have a disc in the hands as an alternative to all the streaming services. And I would say enjoy. It is a very nice view inside his work, and he's a great guy. I can say it was a pleasure for me to speak with him, and yeah, enjoy. Yeah, hello, Justin. Nice to see you, and congratulations to your amazing prize, the Grammy
Thank you
you
so
got.
much. Yeah, such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you, Patrick.
Yeah, you got it for this album. Yeah, you see, we have not only this one, we have a lot of more because we sell it. Very successful for everybody which see now this video. You can have it directly from us here. This is an amazing album, and we will speak in the next few minutes or hours. I have no idea how long it will how long it work, but we like to speak a little bit about you, about your profession, about your what is it called, about the project, because this project was round about 4 years. I saw and I heard from you. You were working 4 years, and it is an amazing project in Dolby Atmos and in Auro 3D, and it is available on a disc, and it is available in streaming. And we will speak a bit later about it. Maybe you can tell a little bit about you. You live in Canada.
I do. So I'm here in my home in Toronto, in Canada. I was born and raised here. This is where my studio is. It's actually just out there outside in the backyard. It's a structure in a building that I built there quite some time ago. And this is where I built my career as a performer, as a composer, as an engineer, and a producer, working with artists around the world, but also very much from here in the city. We have an amazing music community that is especially highlighted on this project.
Is it right that you are working on a school or on a university?
Yeah. So I am a professor of audio production at Humber Polytechnic. It's actually where I attended school as well many years ago as a bassist and a composer at that time. But I'm a part of coordinating the production department, and it's a wonderful program that kind of focuses on bringing performers in. Perform. It's like a performance-based program, but we have incredible facilities and really just prepare the students for the world and how production and music composition and performance all meet.
That's nice to hear. Was it so that you were also very successful in music in the school, or when it happened that you saw that you are interested in music, making music on a lot of different instruments, I think?
I mean, bass is my main instrument. You can see my double
Bass
bass
is
over
your, yeah, I
here.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, but I write and produce using quite a lot of instruments. I mean, I write a lot of music using piano and guitar, and my voice as well. But definitely, as a performer, bass is the main one. And I mean, music has been my life. I can't separate, my life and music from about age of 12, to be honest. So by the time I got to university, it was, an amazing opportunity to just meet a lot of the folks, for instance, who are on this project. We actually met, like, for instance, behind you now, I can see the folks playing. Many of which I met when I was in college, and we've kind of built our careers together over the last 20 years, either performing together, and now, I'm usually in a more of a production capacity as either producer or engineer with these folks.
Can you remember when you heard the first time Dolby Atmos, or was it maybe Auro? I don't know. Also, it's the first time this new standard. When was it?
Well, the
And
first
how it
surround
happened?
experience that I can kind of recall and is as a kid going to IMAX theaters. And there's a really amazing place here in Toronto called the Cinesphere, which is at a place
Yeah.
called Ontario Place. It's this
Hmm.
big dome, and
Hmm.
it's one of the early IMAX theaters. It's really quite an amazing facility. And I remember very fondly as a kid, they used to show you all the speakers behind the screen before the show. I think that they should start doing this again, to be honest, because I think it brings the audience into understanding the technology that they're interfacing with. So I have that memory, and I've always loved film. I love the cinema. I love going to see movies. If the movie comes out, I'm going to try to go to obviously an Atmos theater or an IMAX theater. Then definitely my love for surround began many decades ago. I mean, just as a listener, I have a large SACD, DVD, and now Blu-ray collection, listening to a lot of classical music, but also any contemporary projects that were remixed in 5.1. And the kind of light bulb moment for me was listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. So Howard Shore's scores, which are recorded at Ayr, Lyndhurst, and mixed at Abbey Road. And I'm a big fan of the books as a kid. I was a big fan of the films. But there's these box sets that were originally on DVD, and now I have them on Blu-ray as well, that are just the full scores. No dialogue, no film, just the music. And they're unedited cues of all of Howard's work. And they're beautifully recorded in 5.1, beautifully mixed. And I remember listening to that in my studio, which I set up for 5.1 for film purposes, and kind of never being able to turn back. And I also heard some productions in Oro, specifically some of Morten Lindberg's work in that format, and Stefan Bach, who are both very much involved in this project, as we'll probably get to. And the first thing that I ever listened to in Dolby Atmos was definitely film. I mean, I was I was aware of it being in cinema. But in my own studio, the very first disc that I played was one of Morten Lindberg's, where I had the Blu-ray, the Pure Audio Blu-ray, and pressed play. But I'd actually been working in the format creating music and producing music even prior to being able to hear anybody else's, because in and around 2015 is when I added height channels to the studio. And so I was just working in discrete channel 714 as a producer and as a mix engineer, kind of prior to Atmos was being available. And although I adore Oro, I've listened to a lot of Oro. At that time, being here in Toronto, I wasn't really connected with the European community, who I'm very honored to be connected with now. But, I hadn't yet met Stefan. I hadn't yet met Wilfred. I hadn't kind of connected with Morten in that way. So I didn't really have or understand yet how to get my music into the Oro format. And so here being in North America, of course, Atmos is a bit more common in the home cinema environment. And so I started to build the studio around that technology, so that by the time 2017 came around, when the technology was more available to producers and engineers like myself, I was able to jump right in and start remixing music in the format, start writing music in the format. So that's a little bit of a history into it. But I've been listening to music in surround and Oro and discrete channel 714 for quite some time now.
So you're really one of the pioneers in North America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's interesting that we have really the feeling that the Europeans was in this point some years a little bit before, when we saw
Yep.
what happened with the Auro and with the Dolby Atmos, especially with music. I have also in the background a lot of nice music, which is now 10, 11 years ago, old,
Yep.
made 10, 11 years ago. And the people ask me, what? It's 10 years? I have never heard this. It's amazing.
Exactly.
And you are also, I saw in an interview, were very happy that we have this format Pure Audio. Ne? Pure
Yeah.
Audio is made by Stefan Bock. He did a lot for this format. This is a Blu-ray for everybody which don't know what it is. It's a Blu-ray. It's a disc with the best and quality capacities because we have a lot of space on it. Yeah, and you were using it and you said it in the background. There is your disc there because it's not only music. We have really a film you produce in around about 30 days. Is it right? That was a big production. Huh?
Yeah, it's 35 days of music recording and probably closer to 40 days of actual film work.
Unbelievable. So you were using the Pure Audio really with music and with picture, so it's possible to do it for both, and it's
Exactly.
the best in quality, and it's absolutely. What is for you the difference? And you have it here in your hands, and you have it alternative in streaming. What is for you the difference? It's
Such a great question. Um, and I think that it does involve two sides. For those of us, myself included, who have come up in our relationship with music, with physical media, there is an undeniable relationship that happens with a piece of physical media. And this isn't just music. This is anything in life, right? If we own something, if we can hold it, if we can go into that piece of art, it does change our relationship. And that's not to say that digital streaming cannot create an equally powerful relationship for new listeners. But for me, I grew up with my parents' vinyl collection. I myself come up during a time where CDs, I have thousands of CDs. That's really the prime medium in which I relate to music. Like when I put on an album now, if it's not in immersive, I still have CD players all around the house. I in the studio too. I just choose to put on an album, press play, and let that ritual be a part of what I do. Now, that may or may not be as important to different folks, but what I would say is now the artistic intent. With that package, the every aspect of it has been very carefully considered. For instance, this piece of art right behind me is the album cover. It was made to be photographed, to be on that physical cover that someone can hold and see. The booklet in there is very carefully made. I think it's 33 pages. It has all of the credits, all of the photos. And yes, we can go on our phone or our computer and read all of that information. Of course we can. But just the same reason I like to hold a physical book is that something changes for me. So I think that when I think of this project, the penultimate art that I personally wanted to create is what you're holding there is the Blu-ray. Not only does it contain the physical art, then we come to the sound. So this project is recorded at 96K, which is, of course, for many listeners, a high resolution audio format in terms of quality. It's very carefully produced in every capacity to really envelop the listener. Every single microphone has been placed with great care over a significant period of time to ensure that the intent of my music is met. And the Dolby True HD format, the Oro 3D format, and then high resolution stereo as well are all contained on this disc. So for me, if somebody's listening in Dolby Atmos as a starting point, I actually composed this music around a 9.1.6 speaker layout. Now, of course, the joys of Atmos is that if you don't have 9.1.6, is that it scales down. And to me, as an artist, that's actually very empowering because now it means that if you do have a 5.1 setup, you can still hear a version of my music that I have quality controlled. I know what this sounds like in 7.1.4. I know what it sounds like in 5.1. I know what it sounds like in 7.1. I know what it sounds like in 9.1. And I know what it sounds like in stereo. I know what it sounds like on sound bars. I trust the technology. I trust the process. And it is a part of the entire kind of post-production decision making. So I find the Dolby True HD in its lossless format, being able to also have a higher quality spatial coding, which is the algorithm that ultimately we do have to reduce the size of the files. Some of my master files for Repose, for instance, the third song, which is the longest song, the master file at 96K is 22 gigabytes. So it's too much, right? We can't deliver that much content on a disc at this stage. So the coding algorithm for Dolby True HD is exceptional. And I feel as though I've done the tests switching between my master and the Dolby True HD. And I feel no concerns whatsoever as an artist, as a producer, as an engineer about the experience translating. So then we get to Oro. Of course, now the advantage with Oro is that unlike Dolby True HD, where we're limited to 48 kilohertz, I can now provide the 714 stream, which is also scalable, but also at 96K, which is an amazing ability. You know, that's something that I'm very happy to be able to do. And then on the stereo side, rather than being limited to 16-bit 44.1 like a CD, we can also provide the high resolution stereo masters, so that you have a disc where all of the sound quality that I want to be able to deliver to someone is all in one place. That's what I love about the pure audio format. And then we add the video. And at this stage, there are only 3 ways that I'm now aware of somebody being able to watch the video along with an immersive audio stream. One is the Blu-ray, which is playing right behind you. Press play, sit down, enjoy the art in its, how it's conceived. The second is through, there is the MKV format, which is being sold as a downloadable version in various capacities. And then there's also one streaming platform that I'm aware of, which is the Kaleidoscape platform that can kind of provide that. So that's very, what it means to me is that the disc, it contains everything. It solves all of the problems all at once, and there's a beautiful piece of art, and there's something that you don't need to interface with too much technology. I mean, you put it in your Blu-ray player, you slot it in, you press play, and you go. Like, that's what I don't, as a user, I don't want the technology to be complicated. I too would like it to be as simple as possible. So that's a long answer, but just to say that there's a lot of detail involved in the pure audio disc that, to me, like, maintains everything that I'm trying to make here.
Before we speak about the project, what do you think about that? The music industry is not the same, has not sometimes the same thinking like you. That means they are more focused on streaming. They try to push more. They are working sometimes with big artists where you get only, maybe a small CD, but no push, no promotion. So we have a trend, and the trend is gone away from the discs. What do you think about this? What when you speak with these people, can they understand why you as an artist say, hey, we like to have this, we like to hold it so long as possible, and we like to do it parallel, minimum parallel. That means you can go to stream, but to get the better package, you buy the disc, and the people are willing to pay a little bit more money, which is also not so bad, because everybody speaks that on streaming you can't earn money, and there's a lot of truth in it. Absolutely, you need to be superstar, no? And this is also not good for our culture. So what do you think, what can be, or what you hear from the industry when you speak that you like to work on discs?
Yeah, it's again a multi-layered question
Sorry.
No, I mean, it's an important question. I'll start at the bottom in the sense that this album is also available on streaming, right?
Yes.
In the sense that the Dolby Digital Plus JOC, the DD Plus JOC, which is our kind of consumer level Atmos, is available on Apple. It's available on Tidal. It's available on Amazon. The high resolution stereo is also available on the platforms that support it. As an artist, I do like that there's less barriers to access for my art. And I'm happy if someone spent time in their day listening to this project. If they listen to it in stereo, if they listen to it in binaural, if they listen to it in Apple Spatial, if they stream it off their Apple TV 4K, as an artist, I'm thrilled that someone's connecting to the art. I really am. So there's that part of me which is saying, I get it. I understand that we are in this world, and over time the music industry has made this shift. Then there is, however, the quality side. In the stereo world, we're now at a place where streaming exceeds CD quality, right? So the kind of argument is not necessarily there. We have lossless streaming, and it's a permanent shift that's been made in the industry. On the immersive side, there is absolutely no question that a high-resolution immersive audio experience is more accurate, and I would argue even more enjoyable than the consumer level DD plus jock as an example experience. Of course, Oro, which I really like about the decision making, there's only high res. I think that's awesome. So as we go up in the tier, if somebody can afford it, and I understand this is all related to the economics of our world, if somebody can afford it, it is a very valuable listening experience. I will say that if you ever get a chance to be in a studio with a mastering engineer listening to the original Dolby Atmos or Oro 3D masters, that's even one more level of perfection. As I said, the Dolby True HD and the Oro 3D are very, very close. We're talking 90% of, maybe even 95%, depending on the production. But as someone who's obsessed with this, there's another 5-10% for the mastering engineer that I get to experience in my studio every day. And when it's taken away, it's not that the music isn't there, right? The music is still contained in stereo and binaural. The music is the music. But the feeling and I can't really separate the production from the music. The speakers are the musicians in this case. The ability, that's the way in which the feeling that I'm trying to convey as an artist and a producer, that's what holds it. And every little piece of quality matters. Now, as for the economics of it all, yes, streaming is not, we shouldn't mince words about it. There's no way that it is creating a sustainable ecosystem for the independent artist who is not at the top of the pyramid. Now, the educator in me does say, though, if we look in history, let's say we go back 30 years. Well, if you were an independent artist and you weren't with a major label, you weren't touring, you weren't in front of people, you weren't on the radio, there were also problems. It's not, sometimes we romanticize the past as though it was better then. There were plenty of problems at that time as well. So I don't think that streaming is inherently the only issue. I think that it's very, very complicated when we look at how the economics of it all work. And in some ways, streaming has also created very, very unique ways for artists to reach audience that otherwise maybe would have never reached them before. So it's complicated, and I think that when we want to learn about it on a deep level, it actually helps to go to conferences and attend sessions run by lawyers and run by labels and run by artist managers and artists all talking together, because different people look at the scenario differently. Definitely, there's no question, though, that physical media, for instance, when I'm selling the Blu-ray, you're selling the Blu-ray, Ian Records is selling the Blu-ray, it's much more transparent. The economics of it is that a physical media is sold, that covers the cost of production, which with Blu-ray is not cheap. It's definitely probably one of the most, it's an expensive format to create for, as is vinyl. So it means that the cost of the product has to go up. But for those who can afford it, I would say there is a sustainability to it. I personally, as you said, and Ian Records or yourself, everybody involved in the economics of a record is receiving what I would call, fair compensation for the work. So of course it's there, but I think there's one last part for me is, so we talk about it from, I like the idea that streaming offers access. I like that the physical media offers quality and also economics, fairness and stability. But then on the back end again, as I come to it and just say, that Blu-ray that you're holding, to me, that is the entire piece of art. Just like this is a piece of art, right? It's not that we can't take a picture of it, which is on the cover, and you can enjoy it. But if you come to my house and my living room and I stare at it in the room, it's a very meaningful experience to connect with art in its original form. So all I can say is that as the producer and as the artist of this, that's what I wanted to create. And my dog is barking. One second.
No problem.
So yeah, to me, I wonder does that make sense? I mean, I look at it as that's the ultimate piece of art, and that's why I make it, and that's what I believe in. And yeah, I can understand though the economics of it doesn't work for everybody on the consumer side or the artist side. It's not, like I said, it's not cheap to invest in making, a large run of Blu-ray. So that's a decision I made, and I'm very happy with it.
You know this?
No.
It's a nice sticker. My newest toy. I received it in the morning. I said, okay, let's try it. It's working. You can do a lot of nice things with it.
Amazing.
You can do,
How
look,
beautiful.
that's my logo. That's this. You can have faces on it, and it's amazing. And you can have a smile on it. You see the smile? Yeah, there's a smile.
Yeah, that's so
This
good.
is, I said, let's do it because your motive needs to be animated. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Also, this is a disc. We have it here, and let's speak about the project. Also, 4 years ago, you started. You said, okay, I have, and it's very interesting. It was very emotional. As I saw in the night your interview, you said to your wife, and you learned your wife as a very young boy on the beach. It was the story, no? The love story, yeah? You met her on the
No,
beach
no,
or from school time, or you said it on the beach?
no. So we live in a neighborhood called the
Yeah.
Beaches.
Ah,
So
the beaches.
yeah,
This I was okay.
there is a beach in
Yes,
Toronto, but
yes.
we met in the neighborhood. So we went to high
Ah,
school
okay.
together. And that's
Okay.
where I live now. We both live here with our kids. We live in the Beaches. It's the east
Yeah.
end of Toronto.
Ah, okay.
So as that's that's fun.
Yeah, but
Now,
you
she
promised that you will win the Grammy one time.
I promised I would take her to the Grammys, and that I
Yes.
did. And then
Yes.
winning is was a
Oh, good.
an
Winnie
extra
was the additional
bonus.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was, and she was there with me. She was there with me at the awards. Yeah, it's a such a pleasure because, of course, as I said in the speech, nothing in this world happens in isolation. I mean, to create a project like this requires the support of your family. It requires the support of the people around you because it takes so much time and so much effort, even if it's physical time or just mental capacity, right? Your brain is used up at the end of the day or the end of the night of thinking about how to move this giant thing forward for a significant period of time, 3, 4 years. That, it requires patience, it requires teamwork, it requires understanding. So the ability to bring Natalie there was amazing.
How would you describe the music? Also, the music, because when you see it the first time, you say, oh, what's going on? What kind of instruments they are using and what kind of parts they use to make audio? Yeah, also, is there, it's not jazz, it's world music, it's chill, it's what kind of styles you have combined there when you like to describe somebody that this is a complete new experience of hearing music. One side is a combination of the instruments, and the other thing is the sound by themselves because of the technology you were using for this.
Yeah, it's a great question. So certainly the music is drawing influence from a lot of various musical languages, and
Yes.
those all come from my life as a musician. I'm a jazz musician at my
Yeah.
core, but I've played blues, rock, R&B music, like professionally on tour with amazing artists. I've studied Indian classical music for the last 20 years. I lived in India for a significant period of time, actually studying with a vocalist. I've played Afro-Cuban music with some of the best in the world who live here in Toronto. South American musics from both Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, music from Mexico, music from sort of Andalusia. So we started to talk about flamenco music, but also getting into Middle Eastern musics of Arabic classical music. Now, why you say like how does that happen? It's because here in Toronto, we're a very, very multicultural city. It's been a place that has attracted people from around the world to, call home for many, many years. And so as a result, my colleagues in the city are master musicians who bring with them their amazing traditions, but also the culture here is, yes, you can go see a traditional Afro-Cuban concert. You can, and it's amazing. But there's also a massive culture of creating new music and cross pollinating different styles. It's been happening for as long as I've been alive, and as a result, there's these huge opportunities to be a part of flamenco ensembles that are blending in Arabic music, or Afro-Cuban ensembles working with jazz music, Indian music working with jazz. And so, as a bass player, I've been a part of it as a performer. I've toured. As a producer and as an engineer, I've been a part of a lot of productions of working with folks who are trying to make contemporary music, but are drawing upon these influences. So, I've got a couple decades of experience of all of these various musical ideas kind of floating around. And so, with this project, it isn't saying, I want to mix this and this. It's just sitting down and writing what I hear. And at this stage, I just hear a lot of different influences. So, but I think maybe even more importantly is how I go about doing it is rather than thinking about I want to blend Indian music and jazz as an example, or Afro-Cuban music and jazz, or chamber classical music with electronic music. I more think of the musicians. So I would like, so for instance, just behind you, Sundar Viswanathan, the saxophonist. I write this piece to feature Sundar. The dancer, actually, who you see there, Tamar, there's three dancers in the project on different songs. She's also an incredible singer and flamenco dancer. So everybody is bringing all of these influences. And when I think about them, I kind of write the music with them in mind. And then suddenly those influences come together in a way that I think feels natural, because at the end of the day, as a composer, I can write whatever I want. Unless you find musicians who can actually bring it to life, it's just in your imagination. So this project's 38 artists in total. There's a lot of different musical voices all kind of coming together. And I think that's where my role is as a composer, but also as a producer. And a producer's job is to create an environment where people can be creative, where people can express themselves. And that's really what I wanted to do. So we've got jazz. We definitely have like Hindustani, North Indian, and Carnatic, South Indian classical music. There are aspects of chamber music in terms of strings and brass and orchestrations. There's some small influence from Middle Eastern music in terms of some percussion like duff, the frame drum, the udu. There are influences from cinema and film music. There are influences from Afro-Cuban music. And there's some influences from electronic music as well. So I would just call this, I'm just going to call it music, but maybe the best genre I can call it would just be immersive music. Because the thing that ties it together for me, like the compass, let's say, creatively, was to bring these folks together to make the music, to express these sounds and these songs that I am imagining or that I'm also creating with others. But the thing that's the compass is wanting to create that listening experience. And so every song, the thing that's consistent for me on this record is creating that cinematic experience of video and being in the middle of the ensemble, literally as though you're placed in the middle and these 38 artists are around you playing in toward you.
This is one of your specialty, I would say, because the artists which are using now these technologies, which an instrument to make their visions, also Dolby Atmos and Auro, is used different. We have mixing Dolby Atmos music where the voice is coming from the front and you hear a little bit from the sound in the back. And you have sometimes electronic music, it's moving around you, of course, because there's not the will to, is not a need to bring me the orchestra at home. And then we have the big classic things where you have the feeling in my living room is a 100-person big orchestra and it sounds like in whatever kind of music hall. On your mixings, was it so that you are really absolutely in the center of what's happening? Because you can really, and it's interesting for everybody which has a little bit experience with Dolby Atmos music at home, the instruments are really loud around you with the same levels. Also,
Yes.
that's it. Yeah, that means sometimes you have, I don't know all the names of the instruments in English, but a guitar is not only in the front. It can be that you have a guitar really in the back, that you have the feeling there's somebody behind you. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and this is a very amazing thing, and it is not easy that it sounds good, because in detail, I would say there are so many nice things you can hear on the second, on the third time when you hear the album again, which you have not all got in the first time, yeah? And the first time you sit down, that what's going on? It's not 5-channel stereo, of course not, because it's there, but it is really very impressed. And it's a way you spoke in one of the interviews, which is also a little bit known by Morten, because Morten, when I see his classic things, it's also happening that I have not the feeling that in front of me is the orchestra with the violins or whatever, that a violin is on the right side, on the left side, behind me. And this is an amazing experience, which everybody has to do it minimum one time in his life to feel this. Yeah, this is, you can speak now a lot of this. We spoke before we started the recording, we spoke about it. We can speak a lot about this. The easiest way is come in, sit down, start with the play button, and after 10 seconds, you will see that the face is changing. What's going on here by all the people which are here, by all my audience which are here in my room. That's right. No? It's really your wish that you are really fully around with the sound. And it's the minimum is 5 point, of course, 4, not 2. We need to have the 4, but you can use it with 7. You can use it with 9, of course. And it is also not a question of room size. That's sometimes the questions of the people when they come in my room say, "Oh, I don't have this big room." I say, "No, we can do it on 10 square meters. You need only to be in the center of your sound system, and that's it." And of course, it's bigger. It sounds a little louder and it sounds a little bit bigger, but the effect and everything, it's the same.
Yep.
You like to agree? Please.
Absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, it's about volume, as you said. The further the speaker is, the larger, the more air it needs to
Yeah.
push to reach the listening experience.
Yes.
Yes, obviously, the larger the speaker, the larger environment, we can get a little bit more low end envelopment. So a larger space is going to allow for that.
Yeah.
But at the point of a listening experience at home, no, I mean, I've been in living rooms of colleagues and friends that are quite small with smaller speakers to
Yes.
fit the environment.
Yes.
Once you sit down on the couch and you start listening, it all fades away. It's the musical detail is there. But yeah, for instance, you mentioned Morton, and I mean also that it's challenging to make this kind of experience, and it is. And the reason that I think it's working, and you agree, and I guess also the Recording Academy agrees, and my colleagues agree, is that the music is composed this way. This is the key. Is I'm not remixing anything. I'm writing this music to have a guitar there, but when I'm writing the music to have a guitar behind me, I'm balancing it with something in front. And this is the same thing when you have great orchestrations for orchestra. The best orchestrators, the people who will do the arrangements, understand how to distribute sound and space. It is about balance. It is about energy, sound energy being either balanced, or sometimes we want to draw attention here, draw attention here. But we use sound energy, timbre, so the tone of an instrument, blend, the blend of, let's say, the double bass section off to the right and the violins off to our left, the brass in the back, the timpanis in the back left. This is the concept of sound and space has been a part of live music forever. In fact, if we go back even to potentially 9th century, 10th century, there's even documentation of the idea of when they first started separating choirs on one side of the cathedral and the other. This is a spatial concept. It creates clarity for the audience. So throughout history, this concept has been there. Even in the Renaissance period, there's documentation of composers writing for a choir in the rafters of the hall. Electroacoustic musicians have been doing things since the early 20th century, 21st century of presenting sound around us. I mean, I've studied this. I know this. I've spent a lot of time. And Morton is someone who, of course, is a co-producer on this project, an idol of mine, truly. I get to work with my heroes in this case, with Morton, Drew Jureka, who's the violinist on the project, but also just a brilliant, brilliant mind. There he is, just behind you. And Michael Romanowski is the mastering engineer. I mean, but to focus on Morton, that idea of presenting the ensemble in the round and recording it that way is it makes sense to him, and it makes sense to me. That's where we connect. The fun part here for me is that I get to write the music with that spatial aspect in mind at the very, very start. And so if I have a synthesizer above me, that's all fun, but what matters is that it makes sense. And that to make something make sense, it needs to be built structurally. And I'm not going to get into the full lecture, but I have to balance something above me with something on the lower level, something behind me. If I want to draw attention above, I need to then balance that experience with something below later on. So space just becomes one of the musical parameters. Just like volume, density, tension and release, when something builds up and releases. So all of these factors are considered at the very, very, very start. And I think that's why when we're listening to this in our immersive studios, I almost think of it as like we're not hearing an immersive mix, like it's just the music. That's what, like, you're just hearing the music. Yes, immersive audio is a part of that delivery, but to me, that's actually just what it is. The stereo is an adaptation. It's its own separate mix. I did a dedicated mix. It's not a fold down or anything to fit in two speakers. But to me, the idea here is to create a surreal environment that an audience could never be in. You couldn't sit in the middle of these 38 artists. Sometimes there's very close sounds that would need to literally be this close to your ear, and a brass ensemble that sounds like it's in a big concert hall. I mean, these two things can't exist at the same time in nature. It's impossible. So what technology allows us to do, which I love the records of the 70s. I love, my Pink Floyd and my Yes and Genesis to go a little later, and my Zeppelin and my Beatles. Like my parents are classic rock fans, and I'm a child of that music. And so are now my children. They need to listen to Dark Side of the Moon at least once in a while.
Very nice.
Right, but when the technology allowed for these other experiences like that aren't acoustic. I love acoustic music. I do. I love it. I love orchestral recordings. I love hearing the ensemble in front and the reverb behind. I'm a big fan. I've listened to it all. But for me, this is an opportunity to create the surreal. And surrealism is, it's not better or worse, but in this case that's what it is. And I'm so happy you enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, really. Um, for everybody which don't know how it works when you make the recordings, I saw on your homepage a video which is very interesting to take a look on it, and I will write the link on under the video. There we could see some pictures of making this project, and it's a lot of practical work because I saw that you are working with really a lot of microphones directly by the recording. It's not so that you have two microphones and the rest is mixed by wherever. So you're working directly with a lot of microphones which are focused on this direction, this direction, this direction. I saw you sometimes with a measuring band there. Also there was a lot of fine tuning, or what does it say? Also a lot of practical work. That's one
Yeah.
of your, yeah, that's just one of the secrets of the success, I think, that you are, before you start with the recordings, are really thinking about where is the right positioning for all the microphones to get then every channel, and then you mix it later on your recording, but you have
Yep.
it for the right side, left side, top, bottom, and so on and so on.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So, composition is one thing. But
Yeah,
again, until we record it, it's just an imagination.
yes,
That's it.
yeah,
So, the recording is everything. And
yes,
so, the unique part of this process for me, and I think this is something again that my colleagues, for instance, we met at the Tonmeister Tagung.
yes,
This
yes,
is the world's leading conference on
yes,
acoustic music recording. It was a
yes,
sincere honor to be there. And I remember presenting to some truly my heroes and presenting this idea that we can take the ideas from classical music recording, which is to record space along with instruments, to marry the source, the instrument at the bass, and the space in the recording, not afterwards. This is the fundamental concept of recording, let's say orchestral music as an example. Well, this is not an orchestral music project. This is jazz global fusion. It's there's electronic music, there's electric guitar, there's a drum set being played loud, like proper, like a electric bass. I'm playing electric bass. These are not inherently instruments that are going to blend in a concert hall. The drums will be too loud, the violin will be too quiet. The Himalayan singing bowls are way too quiet to be played with a giant string orchestra. So what you can do is you record the elements separately, more like a film score is made. And what this allowed me to do was record every single element, every one. Nothing was ever done without this intent, where I'm recording the source sound and the space using very specific and very, very carefully placed microphone arrays designed for immersive audio. And what it lets me do, let's say, for instance, this is an example I use sometimes, the brass quartet, which you'll hear in the pieces. There's a trombone to your right, a trumpet behind you, a trumpet behind you, and a trombone in the left. Literally composed four musicians to four speakers, as everything is in the project. What I do is I record their close sources with a microphone, as you can imagine, but I also set up an 11-channel microphone array, which is one microphone per speaker in 7.0.4. And this is just one example, and they play behind it so that all of the reverb is presented in front of you. Then the opposite for drums. Drums is in front of us. I get the close mics. I want that kick drum right down the center. I want the snare in the middle. I want to feel the kick drum on my chest. And I record the room behind us. If I'm recording the kalimba, which is how the record opens, 15 different kalimbas in 9.0.6, there's one different overdub per speaker, etc., etc., etc. This is applied to every single instrument so that I'm capturing its position according to the composition in space. So if I know something's to the left of me, I'm going to record it, and I'm going to record the space. And what it does is it allows us to be in a sense, in a place that is actually quite realistic, because the micro timing details that, for instance, if I snap my finger here in front of me, the reason my brain knows that it's here is I hear it in this ear, then I hear it a little later in this ear, and if it's loud enough, I also hear it bounce off all of the walls. Our experience of life is inherently spatial. We don't hear in terms of left and right, but rather we hear in terms of depth and height and distance and movement. And so where stereo is a powerful and beautiful format, especially when it comes to music, it is ultimately a translation of a three-dimensional experience into two loudspeakers, where immersive audio allows us to present sound in a way that more closely reflects how we experience the world. So in order to localize that information, there's a million or infinite things happening, and our brains are excellent at putting it all together. And depending on where it is, we hear it differently. It gets very complicated. So when we use the microphones at the source, we capture a lot of that detail, and we provide it to the listener in a way that actually feels quite relaxing because it's real. We're hearing the timing information and it's real. That's with Morton's recordings. Not only is the timbre of the instrument perfect, the performance is perfect, where he's placed the microphones to get the timing information is you sit down and your brain says, yeah, I get, like, you don't need to think about it. And it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to create in post-production. We can trick the brain in many ways to try to recreate it. But so the best answer is go to a beautiful studio, which this is a beautiful studio that it's being recorded in, and record everything with that spatial intent. And so as a result of this approach, there are some songs, let's say song 4, Tapestry, which also has metallic objects and forks and knives, very surreal. 1,000 tracks in the production. I mean, it's complicated. But even though that sounds very complicated, it's at the end of the day, it's all, for me as a mix engineer, it's just volume. All I need to do is turn things up and turn things down. I don't need to recreate anything fake. And not that fake is bad, I'm just saying in this case, I'm able to literally just have close source, room source, and find that balance that then feels like, yeah, this is where I want the listener to be sitting.
Justin, thank you very much for this really impressive detail that you described us what is happening. And of course, you will be very happy when the customers have also the feelings after they hear this, that they can understand why you invest so much time, money also, I think, a little bit, no? And spoke with all your friends. What did they say when you ask, hey, I have an idea for a project which is, I think, in this world, the first time done by this combination of music, of instruments, and I like to do this in immersive sound, and the name of the album would be Immersed. They say, yes, we trust you, we will do everything with you, and on the end of the day, we will be also surprised maybe what it sounds or how it sounds. What was it with the 38 musicians?
I think you described it very accurately. There's a lot of trust. There's just a lot
Yeah,
of trust. I
yeah,
think
I think.
I've worked with these folks. I've also, I've been working in the format for a long time. I've mixed thousands of songs in the format at this point, including for some of these artists. So I think that they, might have looked at me like I was a little crazy most of the time, but with a sense of love and trust, where they're like, okay, you've got a thing. Let's. I'm happy to contribute. I'll come in. I'll play my part. I'll be a part of it. I'll play with my heart and soul and skill, and then let's see what you do. And most of them heard it for the first time at the premiere, which was in a huge venue in Toronto, Massey Hall. There's a 40 speaker system upstairs with a huge projector and a 200-person audience. So the premiere of the project was in a large cinematic environment, and that's the first time that they truly heard the thing. So I've been also touring it as a film in movie theaters as well, so you can have that big communal listening experience. And I think that they're all thrilled. They're thrilled to hear it all come together, and I appreciate their trust.
That sounds good. That means you have a DCP and it is possible to demonstrate it or to show it into cinemas?
And it's a
Are there any
dedicated
plans for
mix.
Europe, maybe?
So we did a couple, and I think we should do more. I have a dedicated mix. It's not even just putting it into a DCP. We've spent 2 days on the dub stage adjusting for cinema. We've played it back in many Dolby cinemas: San Francisco, New York, London,
Wow. Wow.
in Denmark. We did it in Colding at the Sonic Days, Los Angeles, Toronto, and it sounds beautiful in a theater. It's obviously we lose some of the detail when we get into a big environment,
Yeah.
but it turns into something else because now you have a 150, 200 person
Yeah.
audience.
Did you visit this fair in Vegas?
No, I cannot wait. It's like top of my list.
I
I
was
mean, now
five
maybe that the
weeks.
project is done, maybe I can
I
go
was
back.
5 weeks after the start. I was inside there. I saw the U2 guys and I saw the movie. It's unbelievable because it's also for 3D sound prepared, no? It's amazing thing. Yeah. Very, very nice. Yeah, also Justin, I would say thank you very much. Are there any plans for the next project? Are there any plans to make something again different? Or what happening? And is it the last time that you try to get the Grammy, or you think you will try it again and again and again? Like Morten. Morten is world record, I think, huh?
I think so. He
30
deserves
times
it.
and
Look,
more, no?
we don't make music for awards.
No, but it's nice to have it on the end of the day.
No, of course, and we know everybody knows that how it works. And at the end of the day, if we make something that inspires our colleagues, which is in the Recording Academy, then great. And I think a lot of times, because the Recording Academy is filled with engineers and musicians, like of the
Yeah,
top, really highest quality,
yeah, good
if you make
networking.
something excellent, then people will appreciate it. But the answer is yes. There are more ideas. I need time to perfect the idea, and then I need resources. And so I'm not in a rush. I'm interested in quality over quantity, I guess, in my personal output. I'm also mixing and mastering for other people every day, so I have to keep doing my work and teaching as well. But something will come for sure when the all of the pieces of the puzzle can come together properly.
Okay. Also, this is available. We need not to forget that there is a streaming service available. You need to have NVIDIA Shield. That is basic from the hardware. I don't know, Aura Masters maybe also. That's an alternative streaming service. And then you have it with the headphones, a little binaural, of course. It is also possible. But on the end
Yep.
of the day, you get the disc. And in the disc is a lot of information about the whole project. This is also something which is very, very nice to read and to see. Again, thank you very much, Justin. I hope all of our audience have enjoyed this. I think it was a lot of nice background, and the most important thing is the passion to do this work and to work there day and night, and then to give us this nice results that we can feel, hear, and enjoy what you did in the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. My goal with this project was to create an album in immersive audio from the ground up. I started with the compositions, orchestrating and arranging the music to place the listeners at the center of a 360-degree orchestra, with musicians in front beside, behind, and above, all playing in toward them. Because I had a specific vision for where each element of this music should live within the three-dimensional arrangement, we recorded each performance in the studio with recording techniques designed for immersive capture. Our goal was to capture the direct sounds and the reflections in the space in such a way that allowed each layer of this production to sit in the immersive mix where it was intended. To help further support the immersive production of this project, we set up a 9.1.4 speaker array in the studio control room so that we could all experience this music taking shape in 3 dimensions. It was powerful to see how that expanded our creativity, as it allowed everybody to understand how each layer of the music fit into the spatial arrangement. When I got to the mixing phase here in the studio, it was a dream to work with so many tracks that allowed each layer of the production to fill the space naturally. But I did find myself wanting to hear some of the performances in an even larger environment. So, we took those recordings and played them back on a speaker into the gorgeous concert hall at the Aga Khan Museum here in Toronto. This created an incredible natural reverb in the room, which we captured with collections of carefully placed microphone arrays designed for immersive audio. In addition to this extensive recording process, I worked with cinematographer Michael Fisher to video every performance in the studio over 30 days of recording. Our goal is to create a cinematic album experience that celebrates the beauty of live musicianship. It was ultimately through mixing this album in Dolby Atmos that this music truly took form. I've been working with artists for many years to help bring their music to life in this immersive format, and it was incredible to use this technology to realize my own music in the way that I've always imagined. I have also always dreamed of audiences experiencing this music in movie theaters. So I went to a soundstage here in Toronto, and we created a dedicated cinematic mix of the record in Dolby Atmos and 5.1. One of the most inspiring parts about making a record is the opportunity to collaborate with your community. I'm from Toronto, and one of the most amazing parts about our music scene is not just that we have world-class musicians from virtually every part of the planet, but that we have an extremely collaborative and explorative music community, where musicians with different musical languages and cultures come together to create new music. This record features 38 musicians from Toronto and around the world who came together in the studio to record the music. And working with this team over the last number of years to create this immersive album has been a truly transformative experience.